Lemon Amiga presents
There's a new guy in town. His name's Robocop.
a Predseda video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Robocop, you're gonna have to kill him. Robocop, you're gonna have to kill him. There's a new guy in town. His name's Robocop.
Hi there, welcome to another Lemon Amiga play guide and review. In this one we'll be checking out Robocop 2. This was developed by Special Effects and published by Ocean in 1990. Screen we get a font, and also Robocop 2 is listed on the top of that screen just in case you didn't know what game you just loaded up. You can see two Robocops on the bottom of the screen, and everything has got that Ocean quality type music to it. And who can remember in the first Robocop movie when it says "Your move, creep"? Well, they put that in this game as well. But I was never very good at this game, so for this review I'm going to put the cheat mode in. Cheat mode. And now one of the F keys will restore our health as we try and play this game. So on the first level we've got to collect 10 nuke capsules to get off it, and you can see a very nice digitised picture at the start. In this game we can't shoot any of the hostages, and because this gun fires in all different directions we're going to have to take those bullets in order to get that hostage. Luckily it's given us a can of coke, product placement there, and that means that we can get our health back. And nuke, we also have to collect 10 nukes and free the hostages. I think if you collect all of the hostages I think you get an extra life, even though, well, that's pretty paramount that you can get that on the first level, and that gives us a chance to get through the rest. But in this game you might notice enemies can shoot us from all different angles, even if they're off the screen, and we can take damage all of the time. Controls are also pretty unwieldy, and that also extends to this moving platform, because when we ride this one, if we collide with any of the objects falling down upon our heads, we'll fall all the way back down again to the bottom of it. And I've been known to fall down an endlessly looping falling down game, and I've definitely been frustrated with that. So you've probably not noticed me pressing those F keys, and you'll just have to watch the health again. Energy, Coca-Cola listed on the bottom right corner of that screen, and they probably didn't even get permission to do that, not that they really needed to do that in the first place. So let's just get a few of these enemies, and look at that, we can't just run, we have to run and jump to collect that extra guy. So we've already messed up, unfortunately, unless I want to climb that ramp and all the way up there. We've messed that up. Luckily we can find another Coke can machine, and that should mean that we get our health back. Moving through those electricity machines, because every factory has a massive electricity generator pouring down electricity onto the factory floor. And so as we make our way through this photorealistic game, you can see that they are respawning enemies that can respawn at any point from anywhere. and it's the moving platforms of doom now, spoiling this because it's throwing me into the firepower of those enemies, even though they aren't even on our level. And collision detection means we can run straight through the enemies and take damage. Even though this is an unstoppable, impregnable cyborg, we still take a heck of a lot of damage in this game. And we can't even collision detect the edge of platforms either, otherwise we'll just fall straight through them. And this is a heavy robot, it weighs 1 ton at least, so you would expect to be able to fall through those floors, but not to the degree that this game manages to do it. This game becomes annoying every single step of it, and you might be surprised to learn that it is possible, if you practice long and hard enough, it is possible to romp through this first level and get that extra life, and that means we can get through the rest of the game. The aiming system is also pretty unwieldy, and those respawning enemies don't give us much opportunity to get rid of them unless we're actually on their level. And then we'll just have to hope and pray that they don't respawn again, and that we can get to all these nukes, because if we miss any of them, we'll have to go back to the start of the level again. I think I've even got the auto fire on, and you can see the character would rather jump than aim on target, and oftentimes we can hold down the fire button and simply hold the controller in a direction. That means we have full control, but thanks to the controls of this game, unfortunately we do not get that luxury. At this point I'm just wondering whether to go backwards and collect some more hostages, and that wastes time, and you've got to know where they are obviously in order to get them. And I'm trying to get this one, and you can see my health is bottoming out, so I'm going to have to press the F key here. And cogs reminding us of Midnight Resistance. Yes, some of the guys from Midnight Resistance went on to create this game, so hence the cogs on rails. And this is an ocean game, so they borrowed heavily from all of the genres. And look at that, we have to jump off to get this nuke, to get that one. Surely I've collected enough by now. And so let's not stop, because as soon as we do stop we'll take damage, and it looks like we can leap off platforms without suffering any damage. Yet these tiny projectiles will kill us. Everything is presented in this kind of shaded effect, and I'm not sure whether this is 32 colours, and I think it's at least a lot more than 16. So this game has a kind of Bitmap Brothers shaded effect. It tends to use blue quite a bit to get that colour progression going, and a bit of grey as well on our cyborg. So you can tell I'm supposed to be waiting around here, but you won't notice many health collectibles whilst you're playing the game. And it's still possible to die, unfortunately, if you're not hammering that key, and unless you are taking your time on this, unfortunately it is still possible to die, and every time you die it's all the way back to the first level. We have got the cheat mode on, the built-in cheat mode of the game, but even that is annoying, because when we die, or if we make the slightest mistake, we can be trapped in this game. Well, no, it looks like I've skipped a level actually. That means move on to stage 2. We get another digitised picture. This is a mini level where we have to use the controller to run around this mini level very quickly. And I seem to remember for some reason I'm using a PlayStation 2 controller, which means it's not easy to move this stick around because it's an analog stick. But the aim is to tag all of these chips and make sure they all get tagged without running into a single extra other one. Otherwise, if you do that, the whole mission will fail. So you have to tag them one at a time. And look at that, I moved 2 squares by mistake. That means it's now impossible. Well, I think for me to finish this, well, yes, it is impossible because I can't now climb out of that gap. Moving on now, we really do love those hand mode screenshots which we're really missing from Batman the movie. We get to move on to a shooting stage which is not entirely obvious what you can and can't shoot because there's guys here and most of them got their arms folded all the time, so it looks like, well, even this one with the hostages, I'm not sure whether they need to aim with that on any particular target, but you can see some of the guys do have guns, and it is possible, look at that, Elliot Ness popping up there, and yes, the same guys from the Untouchables were included in this game. You are rated as poor, so we get to move on now to some kind of brewery. Arrest Kane. Your move, creep. Oh, look at that. Fantastic digitised picture of us scraping along. And I love how it respawns an enemy directly on top of us, so we have to take damage on level 2. Those bats you can see are no way back, so if we fall into that, then we're going to lose our life. And if we press the energy top up key, unfortunately we're going to be stuck in there. So we're going to have to make sure that we get through those vats and hammer, I think it's the F2 key, just keep hammering and hammering it away. Because this game was not play tested, it was just rushed out. And you can tell that this game under normal circumstances is pretty much impossible. Robocop 2 was coded by Ian Moran, and he co-coded the excellent carrier command, you might remember. I haven't got around to reviewing that. And also the Untouchables that we've mentioned in 1989. And so carrier command was 88. And also Midnight Resistance as well, and he moved on to Hudson Hawk in 1991. To get these jumps absolutely precise because I have wasted games before now on this ridiculous jump, and so you have to do it by the book, by the pixel I think, and of course you'll be taking damage. All we can do is aim down at maybe 45 degrees or whatever it is, which means we have to be pointing at their head to hit them. The graphics were created by Colin Rushby, who moved on to Jurassic Park in 1994. And also Karen Davis, who also worked on Midnight Resistance and also The Untouchables. The music was created by Keith Feynman, and he Worked on a rake of ocean games including Parasol Stars and Hook. The graphics are not something that I would say are horrible. Definitely by 88, 89 we're really getting somewhere with the graphics, and this being 1990, believe you me, those digitised screenshots blew my mind away, coming from a Commodore 64 background with games like Aztec Challenge and games that didn't even have any digitised hand mode picture presentation in them. So the best we managed to get on a Commodore 64 was perhaps Defender of the Crown and maybe even Batman the movie and things like that. And so I really did think this colour scheme made it look pretty 16-bit. You might notice that we're getting rained on as well as shot at now, so the insult really does create injury in this game. We can't even line our shot up to blow up the blow-up barrel you can see right in front of us because we can't crouch to get that anyway. And we can't even shoot the guy because he's running straight through us. Arch enemy steps, so we won't even bother with the steps, we'll just use the elevator instead, and we'll take the damage instead of risking any of that. And again, I'm just wondering, and look at this, I'm just wondering if I should run back and, oh dear, run back and rescuing hostages means that we got to the end, but unfortunately we died. So somewhere around this point I'm probably going to press the skip level key again. So I managed to get a few henchmen but no nukes unfortunately on that level. Brainstorm, destroy all red chips on the board. And oh my hero, I wish you could remember who I even was. Yeah, that's precisely the storyline of the movie, so this time I've probably completely got this wrong from the start. And if you memorise the perfect route around this memory map, of course you complete it every time. And if you can't, or if you're using a dodgy analog stick like me, or if you haven't played it in ages, then, well, definitely I should have got rid of the right hand side first of all, and that would have only left me the left hand side. And now it's looking pretty much impossible to get through to that one on the far left, which I seem to need to leave till last. So now we can't remember our wife anymore, so that means that she won't appear anymore in any of the Robocop movies, or any of the games, or any of the tie-ins, and some of these images I don't even remember them from the actual movie. Now on our very last life, because we've killed off the two Robocops, you get two heads at the bottom, and it doesn't seem to give you enough time usually to get over to these if you're using a controller, so maybe you need to pick up a mouse at this point. But you imagine the lightning fast reflexes, the pinpoint precision accuracy of Robocop's accurate digital aiming system is actually going to save us, but unfortunately not. In this game it's pretty much luck to make sure that you can get over to the thing in time and hit the target. Now we get the third level of the three. Battle your way along the rooftops and destroy Kane. There he is, Robocop 2. He actually makes an appearance in this game. So the easiest thing is to get rid of the Ed 209s which appear. That's definitely a homage, and unfortunately, well, this game does fare better than the original Robocop on the Commodore 64, which was released bugged, and Robocop 1 on the Amiga is pretty pathetic. So Robocop 2 was a step forward, and I remember back in the day playing this along with Ghouls and Ghosts with the cheats on and just rampaging through the levels. Of course, everybody remembers floating video cameras in Robocop and the terminals just like that we had to interact with all these things, and of course they make a huge impact on the end sequence of the original Robocop 2. So what they're actually doing is making this up as they went along, and absolutely they did, because all they had was a few screenshots of the final movie. They didn't actually get to watch the final movie. So just like Batman, they had an idea of the storyline but not much about it. So that's why they managed to get the game out more or less in line with the movie itself, so that people could watch the movie and the game at the same time. For me, it's absolutely frustrating and annoying, and the top comments on Lemon Amiga said that they hated the floaty jumps and also the respawning enemies, restarting from the very first part of the level every time that you die. They said it was frustrating, they said it was bland, they said it only had 3 levels, some people said it was too tough, and the rest of them said it's nothing special. So Lemon Amiga gave this a huge score of 6 out of 10. Pressing the F key again to give us some more energy back as we romp through the levels. We now find ourselves on the rooftops, and we hopefully get to face Robocop 2, which is of course nothing like the movie. And after a long walk where absolutely nothing happens whatsoever, that's absolute laziness by the programmers, now we have to run towards Robocop 2 and duck, and as you've seen, if we pull back on the controller he won't duck, he'll just aim on a diagonal. So we can't stop and duck to avoid his firepower, unfortunately, and if we carry on running long enough just like this, we'll get to a terminal. So the scores for this game: Lemon Amiga gave this 60%, Amiga Power gave it 66, Amiga Joker gave it 76, Amiga Action gave it 77, Ace gave this 80%, Theo Amiga gave it 83, The One, who always rates things highly, gave this 86%, and Zero, which was basically a bought-off magazine, awarded this game 90%, saying this is an unbeatable game on the Amiga. That gives Robocop 2 an average score of 7.5 out of 10.
Mission complete.
At the end it gives us a nice digitised picture and a different set of music as well.
Mission complete.
And I'd say that this game is an absolute appalling mess. It wasn't designed for anybody, teenagers or adults. It was poorly player tested, and it was a travesty that it came out on the Amiga. But it's got smashing great graphics and music and sound effects and all the rest of it. So I'll probably give this a 3 out of 10. And so that's this game. Have you had enough of this game? It more or less says yes, I'm completely bored with this game. Let me put my name in on the high score table. So, Robocop 2 then, on the Amiga. Thank your lucky stars that I'm not having to review Robocop 3, is all I've got to say about this game. And at least with Robocop 1 it was playable, even though it was atrocious compared to even the Commodore 64 version. Robocop 2 is atrocious on all platforms, not depending on anything. Every single platform is different, every single one of them is equally unplayable and absolutely frustrating to 1000 degrees. So if you can avoid this game, do so at all costs. So thank you very much, and I'll see you again in another play guide and review sometime soon. Thank you.
Come, play or there will be trouble. There's a new guy in town. His name's Robocop. You're gonna be a bad motherfucker. There's a new guy in town. His name's Robocop. There's a new guy in town. His name's Robocop. Robocop.